Chapter 9. Wiping out Tian Shao's life was such an easy thing to say, but Yu Yao could not do it. She had never known that she would fail at a task one day. When she entered the southern parts again, it was already midsummer. Yu Yao had come to Yu City. This was where traces of the remaining royal family from the previous dynasty could be found, living on land that they occupied illegally. The declaration of the former crown prince's return had been announced above the city gate tower. Afterwards, the military was commanded to go up north, recovering immense territory. Yu Yao thought about it for a long time, but couldn't conjure up what Tian Shao must have looked like up on that city gate tower. She lived in the city for a few days, and finally, the day came when Tian Shao was sworn into office. In the scorching summertime heat, the entire city below him was packed with people. Tian Shao wore black and red alternating dragon robes, as he stood in the utmost center. Prince Jing'an and the old official who had welcomed him into the city were standing beside him. Perhaps his clothing was too serious, or his setting was too important, but Yu Yao could see a reigning, supreme aura over Tian Shao. Or perhaps, this was what people meant by temperament is born from one's roots. As she looked at him from a distance, she felt that this Tian Shao felt very unfamiliar, but she also felt he had a good chance of becoming a good emperor in the future. Below the city gate tower, thousands of people focused on Tian Shao. An official standing beside him gave Tian Shao a scroll that looked like an imperial edict. Tian Shao took it, but he only held it and did not read it. After a long time passed, everyone began to feel strange. Some people looked up, an offensive authority, but they only saw that their crown prince seemed to have lost his spirit, blankly stared at someone amid the crowd below the city tower. Yu Yao. He called her name, directly throwing the imperial edict in his hands away. He didn't care about how dignified his clothing was, about to jump off the tower to find that person. The people next to him immediately formed a panic circle around him, and despite etiquette, everyone pulled him back. However, even though the crown prince's clothing was captured by other people's hands, in front of everyone, he took off his clothes and jumped off the tower. Everyone was filled with great alarm. They only saw a figure leap out from amidst the crowd, moving quickly to save the crown prince and bring him to safety on the ground. Yu Yao. Tian Shao's eyes immediately reddened. They said that you sold me. You don't want me anymore. Yu Yao nodded. Yes. Tian Shao's face went white. He grasped her sleeve, and after a long time, he could only muster out a sentence. You must not abandon me. I will listen to you completely. Yu Yao suddenly laughed. Tian Shao, what do you like about me? I'm not good to you at all. Tian Shao didn't know how to respond. Yu Yao helped him answer. You only like me because, in that lonely place, you saw me first. Thus, you threw yourself at me like an idiot. You do not like me. I like. Tian Shao anxiously wanted to explain himself, but he couldn't make himself explain. I just like you. I met you, and I only met you, so I only like you. Tian Shao, there are so many more worthwhile things for you to like in this world. Yu Yao said, today, I will help you sweep away 2 leaves hindering your sight, alright. Tian Shao's heart suddenly filled with panic. He reached his hand out to hug Yu Yao, but Yu Yao leapt up and jumped onto the limestone of the city gate tower in one leap, using her qinggong. The people on the city walls didn't think that she would launch such a sudden attack. Yu Yao unsheathed her sword and the cold edge glinted under the light, aiming for Prince Jing'an, who was encircled by his bodyguards. With the aura of death beset in her, her sword was fatal. She only attacked and did not defend, as she split through the bodyguards around Prince Jing'an and thrust. The edge of her sword did not enter his flesh, but instead, her internal force pierced directly into his heart, a feeling that Yu Yao knew well. Prince Jing'an looked up and backed away, his mouth full of fresh blood. Yu Yao knew that he would no longer be able to live. At the same time, fresh blood also burst out of her mouth. Her heart had been stabbed with a sword. The guard used more strength and pushed her off the city wall while she was still alive. The sky gradually became farther and farther away. Yu Yao suddenly thought of that day, when Tian Shao had said that the moon was very close. At that time, she had not understood his feelings, but now, she seemed to have slightly understood what he had said. For every inch, she leapt up, and for every inch she fell, the distance between the sky and the earth would gradually become closer and farther away. With a bang, the world became silent and desolate. Her eyes filled with blood seemed to see Tian Shao's shocked and grieved face. Yu Yao. Yu Yao. She saw his lips moving, almost hoarsely calling her name. It was a pity that she had already lost the ability to hear. And she would no longer be able to say anything either. The blood from the corners of her mouth flowed out unconsciously. Tian Shao looked as helpless and panic-stricken as a child who had been lost. She wanted to lift her hand and touch his head and tell him not to be sad, but she had already lost all her strength. Yu Yao knew he was very sad, but sadness is always temporary. In the future, he would have more time to look at the spring flowers, the summer rains, the falling leaves of autumn, and the snow of winter. He could marry a more beautiful consort and have a more colorful life. He deserved to live better than her and not just look at her someone who was hindering his eyesight. Tian Shao was very good to her, and she didn't know how to repay him. This way, perhaps it could be considered that she had repaid him a little bit. Before she closed her eyes, Yu Yao suddenly thought that in the past, she should have laughed more with Tian Shao. She shouldn't have made him so fearful all the time. She had liked him too. End of story.